back to the third episode of Red Lipstick Conversations. I am your host, naturally NaTasha. And y'all, each week we having bold, real, unscripted conversations where we want to give you insight with people from all different walks of life, traveling all different roads, personally and professionally, with some top-notch guests. So today's guest is Arretres. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Arretres. Y'all, I am so excited about this one. Okay. Listen, y'all know I like giving y'all good, solid information. And Arretres is a infidelity recovery specialist. Did I say that right?
Yes, you got it, huh?
Yes. Listen, where do y'all know? Have y'all ever heard of an infidelity recovery specialist? Not me. Like, I've never heard of someone helping marriages recover from infidelity. Like, the people that I know normally be like, girl, he cheated, go on and leave him, like, but a person that's actually trying to build up the kingdom, trying to keep God's marriages together. I had to have her on this show. So y'all welcome Miss Arretres to the show. And to start off the show, I want to ask you a question. How has being bold played a role in your life?
Oh my gosh. Being bold, it's really rebuilt me in my understanding of who I am in God. Once I really identify the power that God has placed inside of me and the anointing that He wants to use me in, honey, it's allowed me to overcome obstacles faster and
Mm.
quicker. And when it comes, I'm not thrown off and I'm not wallowing in it. No, we're gonna overcome the enemy every single time he throws something at us. And I'm confident in who God made me to be and His word. So I'm one of those, and I'm a chocolate girl from the Bronx. So I'd be like, what? Anyway,
Come on, BK. I mean,
come
BX.
on,
I'm sorry,
come on.
BX.
So in the world, I didn't play, and then over in the spiritual, don't play with me. Either way,
Listen, don't play, period. Okay, don't
period,
try me at all.
at
Okay.
all.
So let's just get to it. Please, you have to tell me, how did this profession come about? Like, what made you, or how, yeah, like what made you want to call yourself an infidelity recovery specialist? Is this something that you took a class, or is it something that like you went through personally and then God just led you into that direction? Because no test, no testimony, right? So
Mm.
a lot of times we go through things and it does not be for ourselves, it's for other people. So is that what happened? Like, you got to walk me through this journey.
It was honestly one of those things where God had been allowing infidelity in my life from the time I was a teenager. Unfortunately, my
Mm,
dad, Papa was a Rolling Stone.
mm,
So I was able to see all of the, not all, but many of the relationships and many of the women and all the engagement. So from an early age, I was plagued mentally and emotionally by infidelity. And then, my ex cheated. And then, we out here in this world, and there I kept encountering women who were struggling with infidelity, and not just experiencing it, but allowing it to torment them to the point to where they were no longer living life the way God ordained. They allowed infidelity to define them and couldn't find their way out of it. So, and then in my previous marriage, experiencing it, you know, God just kept pulling me and calling me. And I was like, fine. I was like, Lord, I ain't gonna be able to do this. What you mean infidelity? Like, I can
yeah.
help you with conflict, I can help them resolve. I could do all that. He said, no. When I said I need you to deal with infidelity, I need you to deal with it. And like you said, there's no one out there who's team Jesus, who's team restoration, helping women who decide to stay. The society tell you the minute he cheat, gone, get rid of him. He trash. He always gonna be trash. But it's
Right.
like there are men who make mistakes, um, and turn back to God, saying, "You know what, Lord, I repent to you first, and now help me to be the man of God that you called me to be, so that I can love this woman the right way." And there's no support system out there for women, and that's where I come in, and I created this amazing group for women just to not just heal, but have a life that thrives after
Mhm.
infidelity.
So how do you thrive after how do you have that life of, like how do you thrive after infidelity, right? So are you a life coach? Are you a counselor? Like walk
I'm
me through
I'm
that.
I'm a certified mental health coach.
Okay.
I also have my Christian certification. So, and completely, I give a strategic blend of spiritual principles with strategic actual things to do. So that's where my education, and I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. So adding all of that together along with what God has anointed me to do. I
Mhm.
notice, and many of the women in my program, they'll come give me something, and I'll say, and I'll respond, they're like, "Oh my gosh, God was just telling me that, and I wasn't listening. This is confirmation." So I lean heavily in my education, but I'm really heavy into, Lord, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? What does Tiffany need at this very moment to hear that's going to help her to experience life to the fullest?
Okay.
And it's also
So
very
so do you only work with married women, or do you work with do you help people navigate through infidelity in relationships in general?
I work with both. There's two different avenues or paths for my program. Now, one is for the wives who chosen to stay and they're working together, and then there's an aspect for women who are single or chose to leave. And the reason why I have the two different paths is because the conversation is different.
Mhm.
The conversation in stick with your marriage. How are you praying? How are you creating those boundaries with your husband? How are you holding him accountable? That's different from let's heal, let's get rid of the baggage, so that when Boaz comes, so that you're not allowing that to torment your future marriage.
Mm. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So, what do you see a common denominator with the women that are experiencing infidelity? Is it something that us women are doing? I'm not saying us because my husband better not be out here cheating because it will be a problem. Okay, I'm just saying
Problem.
it will be a problem. I'm saying us as in women. Do you see like like a common interest? Like, are we doing something? It's not our fault, but do you see commonality of these women that are experiencing this? Like, are you taking these women and then telling them like, hey, because we can't control another person, right? God controls that, God controls us. But what can we do to prevent these things from happening?
Mhm. That's when you're very intentional about building a marriage. What I've honestly noticed, most couples that have experienced infidelity and they rebuild it and it's stronger than it was before,
Mm-hmm.
because they're intentional about communicating. They're intentional about resolving conflict. They're intentional about having those tough conversations and expressing to their husband and or to their wife, I desire this from you. This is what I like. If we can do this, having a real intentional path of rebuilding the marriage you desire. I think every woman can experience the marriage of her dreams with intentionality. Now, does that mean that you are manipulating him or making him and fussing? No, because there's also a spiritual aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my coaching, it starts with prayer and it starts with you warring, because many people don't believe in spiritual warfare. But
Mm-hmm.
hello, there's an enemy, there's a real enemy out there that wants marriages destroyed. So when you're praying and when you're asking God, do X, Y, and Z. God, can you open up the doors, align me with my desires? Because sometimes we desire happily ever after, but we want to pop off whenever we don't get our way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that never, there's nothing that a woman can do that would give a man permission to cheat. Nothing. I don't care if she gained weight. I don't care if her hair fell out.
Absolutely.
I don't care if she is popping off. I don't. There's absolutely nothing that condones that. Whenever a man cheats, it's because of his broken relationship with God.
Mm.
Period.
Okay. Okay, so let's flip it. What about, do you have women that come to you to where they are the cheaters in the marriage?
I have had that happen a couple times, and
Okay.
normally because of my honesty, because I'm a deal with it. If you I actually had one woman who came to me and said she keeps wanting to cheat. And I said, if you're not willing to have the tough conversation about your broken relationship with God, then there's no point in you connecting with me because we're gonna deal with that first.
Right.
My relationship with Christ, my surrender to Him is what keeps me faithful to my husband, not necessarily just my husband, because my husband gonna get on my nerves no matter what.
Absolutely.
And when Morris Chestnut walks past me and wants to grab my hand, I need to be able to say, nope, sorry. Even if I'm mad at my husband, even if I'm frustrated with him. But it's my dedication to say, you know what? I don't want to be out here making a mockery of God. I don't want to make a mockery of marriage. So I have had women who do approach me and they say that they are the cheater. And let's be real,
Mm.
because of my upbringing with my dad, I was the one that said, you know what, I'm gonna get you before you get me. Because I see how you men are out here. Like I most of my teenage years was just watching men just do X, Y, and Z and watching my mom suffer because of that. So I was one of them that said, well, I'm gonna get you before you get me. Okay.
Right.
But that was also my brokenness in not fully trusting God and not surrendering my pain and the turmoil that I was struggling with to God. So to answer your question, yes, I have had wives come to me. And honestly, after having the initial conversation with them, they weren't serious about it. They
Yeah.
basically they wanted to do what they wanted to do.
Right. What is your suggestion um when you say to seek God? You get what I'm saying? Like, because I like we live in a world to where we think that God is a genie. He's not, right? Like, we can seek him. So when you're explaining to your clients to seek God, what does your seeking look like? What does your seeking entail? Because I know we can go and we can pray, right? But
Mhm.
prayer will change things over time in his timing. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, he can change it tomorrow or he can change it next year. In
Mhm.
the weight of you seeking and in the weight of you looking for this transformation, what is your suggestion to these women?
One of the first things I tell women to do is they need to beef up their Bible study time in order for you to fully stand against the enemy, because what the enemy normally attacks us in our minds. He's going to have these thoughts coming in. We're going to be thinking something's going to happen. And, we're thinking all these thoughts. And the number one way that the enemy's going to attack us is through our minds. So you have to be rooted in the word and know the word of God and the character of God, so that when those thoughts come to your mind, you can easily combat them and say, wait, that don't sound like God. Because the enemy will tell you you're supposed to be miserable, lonely, sad, suffering in your marriage. But it's like, but the word tells me that God came to give me life and life abundantly. So then
Mhm.
I can easily refute that information. And along with that, getting to know, what is there something that God's trying to do through me? Not to say that he purposely wants you to experience infidelity, but remember, God uses everything for our good. Every single thing. Unfortunately, sometimes that also includes pain. Sometimes that includes struggle. So not just, Lord, do A, B, and C for me. Lord, what is it that you're trying to do in me? What are you trying to get out of me? God allowed me to experience infidelity so that he can birth a ministry through me that would help other women seek the kingdom, that would help other women experience abundance in their life. I could have wallowed in my darkness and just said, I ain't got time for this mess. Let me turn into the biggest player out here in the world.
Mhm.
But in the midst of my pain and watching my mom suffer and watching so many women suffer, it allowed me to see God trying to heal areas in me so that his glory can be revealed.
Okay. So what if, how do I word this?
Just
What
go
if
on and
it's
say
not
it.
for the like what if it's not for the woman to stay? What if she's just married to the wrong person and then she comes to you and you're telling her to stay?
No, I don't do that. Now, if you want to rebuild your marriage and the man is no longer in them streets, I can
Mm,
help you. If you want to heal because the guy just ain't you see he's not going to be, or he isn't aligned with
alive.
restoration. His
Yes.
habits need to change. He can't still be out in them streets. I One of the main questions I ask women when they come to me is, Is he still cheating? Is he now committed to the relationship? Has he repented to God and he's committed that he's going to turn from sin? And if they're saying no, he's still on the streets, then that's a different conversation. Now we need to talk about, okay, what do you desire? What do you want to be restored? Do you want to be healed? Let's focus on you until, because some women aren't strong enough to leave immediately. Some
Mm-hmm.
women are so broken that they're not ready to just get up and leave. So you don't, I never encourage a woman or say, well, you got to stay because this is good. No, no, no. I let you know God can do all things. God
Right.
can restore. And then even with the marrying the wrong person, God gives us free will. You know, there isn't. I've had women say, well, is this the man that God had for me? God gave us free will to choose who we wanted to marry. You know, there are only two situations in the Bible where God actually told someone to marry someone. You know, and even in one of them situations, I think his name was Hosea. I can't remember the prophet, but he had him marry a prostitute. You know, he told him to go and marry this woman. And the other time was with Mary when he told Joseph to marry Mary, or don't, you know, cast her aside. We have to be mindful of, if you chose this person, we still got to do some work because there's always signs. There's always red flags. Did you choose him for his looks? Did you choose him for money? You know, because you don't want to leave this and then run back right into the same thing.
Absolutely.
So you have to be very mindful of not just pointing the finger at him and hollering at him and what he did, but okay, Lord, I don't ever want to be in this situation again. What do you want? What are you trying to do in me?
Right. Right. So when you said that, so you basically grew up, you seen infidelity. You, as you were growing up, you had the mindset to say, okay, I'm gonna get you before you get me. How did you handle those triggers when it came to you saying yes, you want to get married? Was it because I heard you say your ex, so I don't know if was it an
Mhm.
ex husband or are you
That was my
saying like an ex
ex-husband.
boyfriend? Okay,
That was
and
ex-husband.
so okay, and are you remarried right now?
Yes, I'm a lovely man, John Hollins. He's amazing.
Okay. Okay. So in that case, that would be an example that God gave you the exit, right? For
Hmm.
your ex because he wasn't willing to put in the work, correct?
Hmm.
Or did you
And the thing
or
about,
like
even with that, um, when God does not want you to, God has a way of allowing stuff to happen. My ex
absolutely.
actually flew the state, and there was no way for us to reconcile. Even with that issue, I said, God, if you want us to be together, then you make it so. And if not, you make it so that it's just 100% impossible. And God made it so that it was 100% impossible. So
So but you were still willing. You were still willing because you honored your
I was
marriage.
willing, but God was going to have to work on me. He's gonna have to work, and that's why I understand that the staying and the pain and the heartache of it. And unfortunately, even with infidelity, sin is sin. Whether he out there monopolizing the money, not paying them bills, whether he
Mhm.
drinking too much, whether, you know, whatever it is, there's an issue, and it's all about the broken relationship with God. And what are we going to do so that we're restored? If you're willing, you got to be willing.
Got to be willing.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So we have a question. What are the steps for healing for the woman? Because we can say we forgive, but one trigger will bring it back.
Forgiveness is just you releasing the burden of it. It's saying, I no longer feel the need to have to seek revenge against you. I'm no longer wishing that harm against you. I understand that vengeance is the Lord. So forgiveness is one thing. Reconciliation is something completely different. Um, Forgiveness is for you to be free, for you to no longer carry that burden and that weight on you. Reconciliation is where you are actively rebuilding trust to restore the relationship. And that's not what you build. You heal. he rebuilds trust because he's the one that violated it. So many times that women, when they're dealing with forgiveness, they're saying, well, how do I rebuild trust and forgive him? Forgiveness is just a command by God to release you from the weight. Restoring trust, his actions must align with his words. His actions, what he's saying, what he's doing, must be in alignment. Now, you being triggered, that's when you have to actually take the steps of what exactly is triggering me.
Mhm.
Is this from a current situation that I'm currently experiencing, or is there something in my environment that's making me remember what happened to me? Because
Right.
even with my ex, cool water, to this day, you can't wear cool water. I don't even know if they still wear that cologne. I don't know if it's still a thing. But cool water cologne took me all the way back. And I'd be mad and I'd be ready to pop off. But I had to stop and say, okay, that's a trigger that's bringing me back. It's not something right now where I am in danger.
But do you think that, because for me, I believe like when you're triggered, like that is a form of unforgiveness. And
It
that is
is.
a form of you not being healed, because whether you're triggered, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're triggered, it should have no effect on you. Triggers bring up emotions. You
Hmm.
get what I'm saying? So that's a form of you showing like that you're not healed in that area. Like
Exactly.
we can say a lot of times that we're healed, but we're not.
If
Like,
you are
it's
triggered,
so surface leveled.
if you are triggered, you're not healed.
Absolutely.
100%. You're not. Um, Walking out forgiveness, you've got to understand it's an ongoing thing. And it actually in my program, there's a forgiveness process that we literally go through when we're feeling like you're looking at that person, you're mad at them again. And there's a process because remember, there's always an enemy that's going to bring to your mind what was done wrong in an attempt to make you go astray, in an attempt to make you go left. And that's sometimes what those triggers are. Yes, some of the triggers are natural because you've experienced trauma. Infidelity is trauma. The,
Absolutely.
the trauma that some people never recover
Heal
from.
from.
You
Mhm.
know, that whole time heals all wounds, that's a lie. Time don't
Absolutely.
do nothing, but it'll help you get infected. It'll help the wound never heal right. You'll be 10, 20 years bitter, angry, frustrated, unwilling to love because you didn't do the work and heal.
Yes. And it's that part. Because so many of us don't realize that we are unhealed. Like it's so many people. I just had this conversation with my friend. Like I am like I love what we're doing for the women, right? Like I love the whole women's empowerment. I love that they're giving us a platform. But
Hmm.
the problem is that we got a whole bunch of healed women that are dealing with a whole bunch of unhealed men.
Come
So
on.
you're going home healed just to deal with someone that doesn't even know that they have issues. They don't know
Hmm.
that they have triggers. So what do you do in that space? You get what I'm saying? Like, what do
Hmm.
you do when you're when you're quote unquote healing and you're going to, I don't know, Women's Evolve conference, right? You
Hmm.
get in your life,
Hmm.
like you fired up, you get in your life, then you going home to somebody that's not even evolving. So
Hmm.
it's like, what do you do? How can I recover from something if I'm the only one that's in AA recovering? Like it's hard.
There's so many aspects of it, and I could think about five different areas. But one aspect of it is understanding that it's not my job to determine their journey.
Correct. Yes.
And that hurts, especially with type A personality, strong, domineering women. Be like, look, sir, I'm healing. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay, but understanding that his journey is between him and God. It's not my job to critique it, to say you need to be in your word more. You know, we have to get to the point where we allow the Holy Spirit to do what the Holy Spirit does. Sometimes we get in the way because we want to be our voices. You need to do this and you need to do that, and I'm doing all this, and what are you doing? And the Holy Spirit's in there like, if you just back up, I can handle this. Like,
Period.
yeah,
Right. Right.
God's sitting there like, I want to say something, but she all up in his face, you
Right.
know. So
Oh, trust me, I know. Like I know there have been times, because that's just what we do, right? Like we
mhm,
wanna, us being nurturers, we want to fix it.
yeah,
Like we want to let you know this is what you're doing, this is what you're not doing, but we're not giving them the space or even giving ourselves the space to really let God be God. You get what I'm saying? Like he can't do his work if we're over there trying to do his work for him. Like we're not his, you know what I'm saying? Like we just can't do that. So this
Mhm.
this is really, really, really good. So what do you think? Because for a long time, hold on one second. Yes, pumpkin. No, no. Go upstairs with Sissy, okay? Sorry. That's my 3-year-old asking me, do I want to play Monopoly? Look it. Trying to sidetrack me. Like, no, no, I don't. So what do you think about, tell me your thoughts on when they say that you need to be equally yoked? What is your take on that? Because I know that people have all sorts of versions, right? Like we have one Bible or we have several Bibles, and people interpret the word and interpret these scriptures the way
Mhm.
they want. So I'm curious to see, what do you think that means when it says that you need to be equally yoked with your spouse?
I believe that means that you should have accepted Christ as his personal savior, and
Okay.
he did also. You have to have the foundation of who are we going to go to when stuff pops off, when we're having those tough seasons of marriage. You have to have the same. For example, someone who's a vegetarian marrying someone who's a meat eater, y'all gonna have some issues. When it's time to come up with dinner, you doing one thing, he doing another. So in my mind, my translation of that is you are two people who are believers who've accepted Christ and truly believe that he is to be Lord over your relationship.
Okay. So take it. Here I am, not saying me, but I'm just using me as an example.
Hmm.
Here I am. I grew up in a spiritual foundation. I'm really, in tune with my spirituality. I'm not religious, but I'm in tune with my spirituality, right?
Hmm.
And we are supposed to be disciples. We are supposed to be fishermen, right? So
Hmm.
we go out in the world, and then we get these Build-A-Bear men,
Come on,
right?
come
We
on.
get this Build-A-Bear men.
I see where you
And
going.
you see what I'm saying? And then, so what does that look like? Like you're telling me I need to be equally yoked with the man that I love, but then you're also telling me that I need to go in the world and I need to shine my light so that he can see you and me. So like, make it make sense.
But let's not go find the Build-A-Bear guy. No, that's not. And then when he tells us to go be disciples, we're supposed to be disciples, not necessarily marry them. Some women are married to
Wait,
men.
stop, 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 stop. Please say that again. Please say that again.
We're supposed to disciple them and help them to evolve, not marry them. Some women are hurting in marriages with these men that they were supposed to disciple and
Ma'am.
or
Yes.
mentor or speak life into, or most importantly, connect with another man that can fully disciple him. But unfortunately, our feelings got in the way. He looking real fine, and I can help him grow in the Lord. Now, and I'm one of those that truly believes, however you start that relationship,
That's how it's gonna finish.
that's how it's gonna finish. So
Yeah,
if you
for sure.
constantly helping him to read and you making him read and you nurse all, don't get mad 15 years from now when you still having to mentor, because we feel like, oh, he'll change. Oh, I'll help him change. You are not God. You don't know the capacity of what God has for him. Maybe he's just one of those people that shows up to service and gonna be a good person. He might not be the
Right.
pastor. He might not be out there ministering the word of God. So you've got to see people for who they are, not for who you feel they can turn into.
Oh my God, please say that. I say this all the time. You cannot fall in love with
No,
potential.
you
Like you cannot do it. It's either you got to see it straightforward. Do he have it or do he don't? I can't wait for 5 years for you to get on my level. Sir, you not there. You cute. You know what I'm saying? Your money good. You cute. You dress nice or whatever. That steak was good, but
Mhm.
it's not going to work. And so I this is why I really, really wanted to get you on this show, because when you talk about infidelity, it takes a lot to even get to that point. And I feel like so many of us see the red flags.
Yes.
After you say yes, whether or not that if this person is your person. But
Mm-hmm.
um because we are nurturers and because we're caring and we're loving, we will continue to give these men chance after chance after chance after chance, and then want to go to God and pray about it. But it's like, wait a minute, I give you wisdom. Wait a minute.
Come on
You
now.
did not tap into your discernment. Wait a minute.
Come
Now
on.
you out here talking about you broken and this, that, and the third because of this dude. But you couldn't, like, you just should have chilled, sis. Like, you just should have chilled. Like, you knew
Pump
that
the
wasn't
brakes.
your dude. Like, you got way too antsy. You
Uh-huh.
was way too thirsty. And now here you are having to
Mm-hmm.
recover from something that you shouldn't have even drunk. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you get what I'm saying? Like, that's just dumb. That's like me. I can't take edibles. Like, I can't. Like, no matter what people say, it's part of the earth, right? I get it. But there's no point for me to cry come the next day because I'm hallucinating and I'm paranoid, knowing that I shouldn't have you know what I'm saying? Like, I shouldn't have ingested that in the beginning because I can't handle it.
Exactly, exactly. Unfortunately, there isn't a group or community for single women that's being real with them.
No.
Let's have these real conversations. You need to, and I truly believe every single woman needs to have a committee of women and men in their life that they can present this boo, this man to, and they can be able to speak into her life and say, no, he ain't it. And she trusts them. You need to, if you are single, you need to have at least 2, 3 people who can look at this man and say, nope, he ain't it. And you need to receive it.
But you also in that committee, let me touch on that. In that committee, it also needs to be a mixture of people, because if you have people that are just as broken as you and you present him
No.
to this committee, you get
Mm-mm.
what I'm saying, then of course
Uh-uh.
they're going to agree with you. Like, you got to have that solid, you know what I'm saying? This is
And
why I
this,
wanted to this is
and
why I
this,
wanted this podcast, because I feel like these conversations are not being had
mm-hmm.
enough. Like, it's not enough of this going on. People think like,
Yes.
oh, you do that church stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like that. Like, you got to do that church stuff. You got to be spiritual, but you got to be honest, and you got to keep it
Mm-hmm.
all the way 100 with Jesus on your shoulder. Like,
Exactly.
period.
Exactly. And I love that you brought that up. Um, Time out for having circles around you that are broken and busted. You need to
Period.
have some strong women of God, men of God who truly, authentically love God and want you to fully experience everything that God has for you. That's who you need. We need to get rid of some people
For
who
sure.
who are determined to live beneath who God has called them to be. And
Absolutely.
we know who those people are. We every
Yeah.
time you get off the phone with them, you feeling sad and lonely and depressed.
And you being messy. Look, some of my friends be calling me. I'll be like, all right, well, you got the petty side of me today. Like, this the
See?
energy that you bring out of me. Like, yeah, like this is what it is. But I totally agree. And I also, and I had this conversation with a friend as well. The thing that I wish that I would have done was set the tone for my male friends, like real male friends, because a lot of times what us women do, we will X out males that have been actively in our life that are really your friends
Mm-hmm.
because you're in a relationship.
Mm-mm.
And now all you do is talk to only girls. You don't have a male perspective because you chose to not be confident in that friendship because of, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, this is what I'm just going to be respectful for my husband. You know what I'm saying? To
Mm-hmm.
my husband. So I'm going to not talk to this person anymore. But you know for a fact that that person may have been a solid friend in your life. So now it's just one-sided.
Mm-hmm. And my male friend, now I have good male friends that I will text and I will talk to, but they're also my husband's friends.
Friends.
You know, we all get together. I have we honestly we have about maybe 2 or 3 male friends where
Mm.
it's just like we're all engaging, we're all talking. Now some of them I'll be like, nah, we now you don't text me. No, have your wife text me, okay?
Right, right.
But if you have a male friend, I do believe it needs to be both of y'all friends. but y'all all are fully engaged, fully in the conversation. Now where you just texting and because there are them brothers that are friends and they just waiting for the husband to mess up,
Mm-hmm.
so they can go on and slip and slide inside
Right.
and let
But
you
that's when you need to know that. You get what I'm saying? I'm not
absolutely
even talking about those type of friends. I'm talking about actual
good.
males that you know that are your friends because I feel
Yes.
like, even with me, I'll be honest, like when I got with my husband, we weren't married, but I was like, she not calling your phone no more. Cut her off.
Period.
She calling us? Hello? Oh,
Period.
if not, then
What she wants to say to us?
where
What
are
we
we
talking about?
going? What you want to talk to us about? Oh, okay. Like, if not, then you can't call this phone no more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
period. But okay, so let's talk about the vows. Are you in agreement with how the regular? Because I know some people do write their vows, and other people they just say the generic vows. So let's talk about the generic vows that pastors and people that marry you use. Are you in agreement with all of those?
Yeah.
You are? Okay. No, I'm just asking.
100%. Now, you're talking about the whole submission part?
Submission.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's dive into that. Okay. Now, the scripture first starts with husbands are supposed to submit to God.
Mm-hmm.
They're given the command. They're supposed to submit to God. They're given instructions to love us the way Christ loved the church. We
Mm-hmm.
are to follow men who are already submitted to God. When a man is submitted to God, it's easy to submit to him because you know who he's getting his instructions from. But if his instructions are whatever he see on TV, his homeboys who out there, thugging whatever, then that's hard to submit. But when you have a
Yeah.
man who is fully submitted, not that he's perfect, but when he is trying to determine whether to go left or right or what the next season of your marriage should look like, he needs to be submitted to the Lord.
Absolutely.
If he's submitted to the Lord, it makes it easy. So a man who is struggling with a woman, with a female not being submitted, and no, not a female, a wife, because the Bible doesn't tell girlfriends to submit to boyfriends. The Bible tells wives to
Period.
submit. I'm sick of these
Period.
women out here submitting to some man who ain't put a ring on your finger. No, you don't get that leadership. But anywho, that's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
Um, but if he is submitted to the Holy Spirit, if he is following the Lord and the instructions and submitted to God, then it makes it easy for a wife to submit. The problem comes in when he's not submitted. That's when it gets hard.
Yes, I agree. I just wanted to know what your take is. Like we live in an age where social media, everything is on social media, and people just follow these trends or hop on to what feels good or at that time. So I wanted to know your take. Okay. So as far as do you believe? Because this is my take on it. I feel like a lot of marriages are failing right now because they're growing apart.
Mm, this is true, but
And go
mhm,
ahead.
we have to be intentional about growing together. I have my own things that I do in life. My
Mhm.
husband has his own things that he does, not in life, but I have my coaching and I'm doing all these things. And I'm active in ministry, but you have to be intentional about putting in the same effort you put into your business, your ministry. You got to be intentional about putting that into your marriage too. What are you intentionally doing to build your marriage? Because you're naturally going to drift apart if you don't intentionally stick together.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I said that when me and my husband renew our wedding vows in 2 years, we'll be together 10 years. I
Yeah.
really want to include that. Like I want it to be in growth, do us part. You get what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
I feel like that's what's happening. Like I keep seeing it every time I turn around. That girl, did you see so and so divorced? Did you see they not together no
Mhm.
more? And I don't feel like it's because they don't love each other. I don't feel like people are having these rendezvous and just cheating on their spouses just because that's what they want to do. I feel like it is the growth part that is missing
Yeah.
on both parts.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that goes back to what we were saying about the triggers. People are not aware of the areas of them that are not healed. So that is how you get left.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like if you're not growing and you
Yeah.
don't even know that it's an issue, and I'm flourishing, I'm doing what I
Yeah.
need to do. I'm watering myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm staying in my word. I'm out here connecting and making these networking opportunities and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I'm meeting people that are on my same wave. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They on my same time, they on my same energy. And
Mhm.
so it isn't an intentional thing. You
Mhm.
get what I'm saying? It like you said, it has to be intentional for us to
Mhm.
grow together.
Mhm. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with a woman a female that's out there hustling and doing her thing, and her husband's cool with that. But never look at your husband as less than because he's not financially trying to be out there hustling and stuff. He's a good man, got a job, bringing that check home, taking care of his family, loving you. Be okay. Sometimes we look at society and we look at these power couples who's out here making, I made 1 million today. Oh, he made 30 million
And
today.
Bitcoin and
You know,
crypto.
and Bitcoin.
Let's be specific, okay?
Come on.
Like you ain't even got it. It's just in your account that's gonna leave tomorrow when the stock drops. But go ahead.
And
Go
you,
ahead.
if you're not careful, you let these Instagram, social media, marriage gurus who are really broken and hurt. You don't know what's going on at home.
Right.
You don't know if they abusive towards each other. You don't know if they actually talk to each other. You don't even know. I know couples where it was nothing but a business transition.
Listen.
It's nothing but a business transaction between them. They have these businesses, they have all these portfolios, but do
Mm-hmm.
they love each other? When
Yep.
she cries, does he hold her? Does he even show up for her emotionally? Does she show up? There's no love. So we have to be intentional about, okay, I'm out here and I'm thriving financially in business and networking and I'm doing all these things, but I can't hold that against my husband because he's choosing not to be out in the streets hustling and doing all these things. You have to, what do you want for your home?
Mm-hmm.
Do
You
you want
gotta know. You gotta know who you married, and
exact?
that was something that I learned because I am just a multifaceted individual. I have many
Hmm.
talents, many gifts. I'm just a very ambivert, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Like some days I like people, and some days I don't. That's just what it is, you know. But for the
Mhm.
most part, I'm more on the extrovert type person, and my husband is not like that. He is a worker. He gonna go to work. Listen, I be like, can you take a day off? Like he's gonna work, you know. And before I was like, oh my God, we're so like not compatible. You're not like me, you know what I'm saying? And it was a struggle because I wanted him to be like me, but it wasn't until I healed myself, right?
Mhm.
I started learning about myself, and I was intentional about being self-aware on who NaTasha was. So
Yeah.
where now I can then go and I can appreciate the things that I once complained about is now
Mhm.
the things that I'm like, dang, I like that. Like
There you
if
go.
I want to be outside and I
Come
want
on.
to be fly and I don't have to compete with you because
Come on.
you don't care about that. You know
Come
what I'm saying?
on.
So it's like you just have to be honest. And that
Yeah.
is really what, like, of course, we can't control people. Like we said in the beginning, we can't
Mhm.
control when someone's going to step out, when you going to, but we just need
Mhm.
to be honest. I think that's the key right here is like honest on who you are as an
Yeah.
individual. And if something is no longer working for you, conversation before infidelity even happens. And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people, like, God gives us clues. Like there are red flags. You can see it, you can feel it. Us women, we are very in tune with ourselves. We know when something don't feel right. Our intuition is on point.
Yeah.
So before it even gets there, you need to be honest with yourself first and then have that conversation with your spouse. Yo,
Mhm.
it's not working. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling this type of way. Like I just feel like it's communication that we're lacking.
Exactly. And having those conversations first you got to find out what is it that you like cuz sometimes in marriage we're wanting our husbands to make us feel a certain way, but we don't even know what's going to make us feel that way. Like,
Yes.
what is it that you want? What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What is romance to you? How
Right.
many times do you want to have sex?
Right.
Do you want him to hold your hand, or do you just are you cool with just sitting on the couch?
Right.
I'm one of those. If we just sitting on the couch watching a movie, I am good. I'm in my happy place.
Mhm.
Other women, I want to be dressed. I'm gonna get dressed up. Gotta take me to the fancy restaurants. Okay, that's cool for you. So you've got to know what works for you, and then have that honest conversation with your husband, and
Mhm.
then give them time to adjust. Give them the opportunity to step up to the plate. And another thing that you brought up, opposites attract. You know, our couples, our spouses balance us.
Yes. Yes,
They
for
do.
sure.
My husband laid back. I'm a fire starter. I'm a chocolate girl from the Bronx, so she stay ready. My
Yes.
husband cool, Texan, laid back. It's all. So imagine me with another fire starter. We both be in jail for something, either
Yeah.
in jail or in the hospital. One done popped off a little too much, and the other
Yeah.
one. So, we our spouses learn to balance us. You know, my husband helps me to relax and enjoy vacations and put the computer away, and you don't have to work all the time. Let's just relax. I help get some fire inside of him to go and pursue other things. We we see those opposite traits as an issue when really that's the blessing that God uses to help balance us out.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's that communication. Like I said, like I had a conversation with my husband. Like when I started feeling, I'm like, I'm changing.
Hmm.
Like the stuff that I thought I liked before, I don't like it anymore.
Uh-huh.
The things that I didn't talk about before, well, now I want to speak up on. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's that communication, it's that having that conversation. Like, so do you have any suggestions for women out there that are maybe struggling in their marriage and they're not at the infidelity stage, yet, but they know that something is wrong? Like, what is your suggestion to them to have that conversation? How would they start that conversation with their spouse?
Well, number one, identify what is it exactly that they're wanting. Men work better when we're very direct. So don't necessarily present all your unbalance to him.
Yeah.
And don't present it expecting him to fix it. If you're just having a moment where it's like, okay, I just need to get this out, that's fine. But when you want actual results and you want change, you want transformation, first, okay, what is it that I'm needing right now? Because sometimes what I've noticed is most of the time that lacking or that longing that you're feeling is something between you and God. It's something
Mhm.
that you couldn't work out on your own.
Yes.
Sometimes we go to our husbands wanting them to fix something that God's supposed to be fixing.
Yes.
And we mad at our husband
Absolutely.
because he ain't fixed it. And God like, hello, I'm over here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So be really clear on what it is you truly want, how to get to that place, because once again, don't just present the problem to him and say, now I need you to figure out how I'm going to feel better. No, if you want more romance, what does that look like? Romance to you might be something completely different. And as you said earlier, we change. Back in the day, you
Yes.
don't bring me flowers. I didn't want flowers back then. Now I need you to bring all the flowers to me. I want all the flowers.
Yes. Yes.
So you have to have this ongoing conversation and honest dialogue where it's like, this is where I desire now, not blaming him and saying, well, you're not stepping up to the plate. But you know what, babe, I'm now longing for something that I would like to receive from you.
But how he gonna step up to the plate when all this time he thought you wanted a bowl because you've been eating out of a bowl? You get what I'm saying?
Ooh,
Like it's like you gotta
exactly.
be honest. You have
That's
to be honest with yourself. And
uh-huh.
I and listen, like I said, I'm honest, I'm real. These are conversations that I literally had to have with my husband and was like, yo,
Yes.
I used to say I don't want nothing for Valentine's Day just because I didn't want to be let down, just in case you didn't buy me nothing for that Valentine's Day.
Come
But
on.
you need to come in here for something for Valentine's Day.
Come on.
Period. Like
Come on.
I'm not that little girl anymore. I want something.
And
I want
and you
several
said
things,
the most
actually.
powerful thing. You said the most powerful thing there. You had to identify that there was some trauma there. There was some baggage there. There
Yes.
was some, I don't want to be let down again. I don't want to feel. So you had to deal with that first. Then
Yes.
you were able to say, you know what, I need you to come in here correct. At Valentine's, I'm expecting, there are some expectations. And this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting. You know, we want, no matter how long you've been married, we have to stop this thing where he should know. No, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
There's certain things he should know because you've had a conversation and certain habits that you've created within your marriage. There's certain things he should know. But as you change and evolve, if he's not doing certain things, have that conversation. If you've changed and your personality has shifted, and granted, about every 5 years,
Yes.
it's gonna change.
Girl.
It's
Yes.
gonna shift.
For sure. For sure. That's what I told you. I was like, wait a minute. I don't feel myself. Like when I was 30, I didn't like this, but here I am at this age. I like this. Like I need you, so it's like you got to know you before, hands down. Like we can
Yeah.
go on and on because this is a good conversation. We already at 50 minutes. So I'm like, I don't want to say anything else. But hands down is we as women have to know ourselves
Hmm.
before we put the pressure on men. You have to know yourself. If you know that you a nympho, you can't be mad at him because he ain't on your status. You get what I'm saying? Know what you want. Like,
Exactly.
period. And I learned something during my TED talk. My coach, he said exactly what you said. He said the problem is the disconnect between men and women is that we go all around the board just to say, I need you to tell me I love you every day,
Come
to
on.
where they could just be like, you know what I'm saying? Like they would grasp it if I just say, I need you to tell me I love you every day. So a
Exactly.
lot of times it's not that we're not communicating, it's we're not communicating the right way.
Be
And listen,
direct.
me and you are neck and neck. You hear me? Like I'm not from the Bronx, but I'm from Buffalo, New York. So just being from the East Coast, us women are a different caliber of women. We're
Come on.
aggressive. We
Come
we
on.
you know what I'm saying?
Come
So
on.
a lot to tone us down and to be
Yes.
okay. Like my dad be like, "Dang, you so rough. Like, calm down." And I'll be like, "Okay, you right.
Okay.
You right." So just knowing how to communicate. Somebody said you have the conversation, not the talking at. Yes. So a lot of times we talk at our husbands and not have the conversation, or our spouses not having the conversations.
And that's hard because sometimes we're so, my auntie called me excitable. Because I get so,
We're
I'm
passionate. We're passionate.
I'm passionate,
Yes.
and it's not, I don't mean to be, but my hands get to moving, and then that accent get to coming out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's just that I'm passionate, but we have to be mindful and intentional about not talking at them, and then come up with a safe word so that when you're talking at them, they can say that safe word, because what they can't say is, you need to check yourself, or you need to calm down, because all that's going to do is make us escalate
Yes.
more.
Yes.
And we're Christians, we love God, but we also got to be mindful of our own natural habits, okay?
Yeah.
So him saying, be quiet, chill, you doing too much, that's not going to work. Let's come up with a safe word, lollipop, okay? Oh, okay, lollipop. Okay, I'm doing too much. Let's bring it on down.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, sis. I am so happy that we had this conversation. Please, please, please tell the people where they can find you. If they need any resources, if they need your help, please tell them how they can find you.
Wonderful. I'm on all social media platforms at Connecting Love and Marriage. So Instagram, that's my happy place. Facebook, I'm there, and on YouTube, but it's under Connecting Love and Marriage.
All right, y'all make sure y'all go follow my sis. Listen, we're gonna have to come back because I got so much more to talk about. Like this was getting good, just when it's getting good, but I don't want to drain y'all. I know we got to get up and get ready for school and work tomorrow. So y'all have an amazing week. We will be back next Monday, and we will talk to y'all later. Bye bye.